Hello, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you for spending the next hour with us to talk about how SaaS helps your workers get more done. My name is David Chow. I'm a Director of Product Management here at Microsoft, responsible for the Office 365 offering, which is one of the SaaS productivity solutions out in the marketplace. And today, what we'd like to cover with you is a number of topics that we have learned over the years being in this business. The first of which is really about the perspective about future productivity. These are areas that we have heard from discussion with our customers and about things that they've heard about some of the key trends that they've been hearing, and how the future of productivity is really shaping up and how that impacts overall as they think about whether SaaS is a solution for them. The other part of it is really about the promises of SaaS. I think there's a lot of part of it is hype, part of it is just a lot of uncertainty about the space, about what SaaS can be for customers. And what I'd like to do today is kind of go through that a little bit and talk about what's our perspective of what that means, and help you as a customer as you think about how this applies to your organizational needs. And the third one that we're going to try to cover is really about customer examples. We always get asked a lot about who are the type of customers that typically would be engaging in SaaS, would be a good fit for. While there's definitely not one single profile, there is definitely a trend that we have seen of a type of customers that typically are willing to start kind of jumping with both feet into this space versus many that are more interested in the area. So these are kind of things that we'll share with you today. We'll have a couple of examples of that. And then the fourth thing is, where I think you'll get a lot out, hopefully, is what we have learned, kind of key learnings that we've had over the years about the reality of the cloud service. I think as a service providers, I think we're obligated to really share with our customers, the trade-off that's involved in moving to a SaaS offering. And the truth is, it's not really for everybody. And it's important that we kind of outline what those key differences are, and really helping customer make the right choice. And then the second part of this is we will have a discussion and a demonstration about our SaaS offering, which is called Office 365. My colleague Ryan McGee will be on, and he will go through and show how a SaaS solution like ours can really enhance and change how our end user and workers collaborate and communicate. We feel is a great value prop. I think many people will be able to take advantage and benefit from it, and hopefully you will too. And then at the end, we'll leave some time for some question and answers. So this is we'll be using the tool. We'll try to save time for that, and we'll basically read off the various questions, and we'll try to answer them as best we can with that as well. So that's really the agenda for the next hour. I hope that you find it useful, and we'd love to hear from you as feedback whether this hits the mark or not. So with that, I'm going to get started. So as we think about the key trends that's been driving the future of productivity, we sort of summarized it in sort of these 5 major buckets. And this is based on a lot of conversation that's been ongoing with our both enterprise customers as well as some of the mid-market and small business as well. That's really influencing and what many of our IT counterparts has been hearing. And so the first one, I think, where I think has been written a lot about in the press, it's being widely discussed, is really about the consumerization impact to the enterprise environment. And what that really means is, for many of the customers, on one end, there's constant requirements from the end users about a lot of the capabilities that they enjoy today at home, such as social networking, IM, blogging, etc., that they have customly using and really want to extend that in their workplace. And on the other hand, there's this rightfully concern from the IT organizations about what that really means from a security point of view, about users downloading or running applications that are more consumer-centric that might not meet the bar of their internal security standards. And more frightening is really about sharing some of the proprietary information, whether on purpose or more in the case accidentally via those applications into public forums. And so those are genuine concerns that many of our IT counterparts have expressed to us, and how do we actually address that? And to make the situation more complicated, we are in a unique place in history where there are multiple generations of users that are actually working in the enterprise environment. So you think about the boomers and the Gen X and the millennials. Those are kind of three major ones that people have talked about. And they all kind of uniquely do communicate and collaborate and in a very different ways. And then they have very different needs and different desires and preferences. So the ability to really meet the needs of all those different generations is again, a very complex and difficult issue for IT to resolve. And this is also coming at a time when much of the demand for IT resources is more scarce than ever before. Economic condition that we're in definitely didn't help in terms of having the coverage to be able to satisfy these needs while really using up a lot of their resource, maintaining with what they got. And that's always been one of the issues with IT is that there are a number of legacy systems they need to continue to maintain, how to balance that with innovating new applications. And also with the rapid merger acquisition, there's always a constant pressure to really drive quick adoption and quick integration of collaboration and communication among the various parties as part of a merger and acquisition. And then finally, there's always the way in which the workers actually consume these capabilities. There's more and more of a distributed workforce than ever before. We have a number of types of agility workforce in place that goes from contingency staff to outsourced vendorization. Those all are kind of different ways in which the user population can fluctuate up and down. And having the agility in the IT infrastructure often places equal amount of stress into that system. And finally, the promise of the cloud, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a bit, becomes a larger and larger kind of double-edged thing where there's definitely benefits that it brings, but also the genuine concerns about security and control that whether a company will still have when they move to the cloud and the impact of that onto their policies and infrastructure. So with that, I want to kind of talk a little bit about how we here at Microsoft think about the future of productivity and what needs to be done to really have a solution, whether that's our solution or any vendor solutions in this space. So the first component of that is really having the right set of experiences. We first to admit that while the PC will always remain an integral part of any kind of productivity scenario, it will never be the only one. There are multiple devices out there, multiple types of access users to have, whether that's through a mobile device or something in between like a tablet, that they need to have access to that. And so any solution, any SaaS productivity solutions needs to be able to address those various platforms. And the second piece of it is really as well, we think cloud is a part of the solutions to this. It will never be kind of the full solutions. And the transformation in all practical purposes, especially for the larger size customers, will take time. And it's not an overnight event that happens. And so having a solution that enables a constant movement of users between what we would call on-premises technologies versus the cloud technology is super important. And be able to make that transition, enable IT to make that transition, needs to be part of the answer as well. And the third piece to all that is, as we think about productivity in the futures, I think we're making a change from what we would consider personal productivity in the past that deals with areas such as word processing, spreadsheet, presentation, to a much more collaborative productivity across organizational boundaries. And so we think about the next generation of productivity suites. We think about not just those stuff that you're familiar with from our Office suite, but more broadly, things such as unified communications, collaboration tools, enterprise content management, business intelligence, enterprise search. So we think of all those as really part of the productivity capability of the future, and that we think of those as sort of the suite of the future as well. So what are some of the promises of SaaS and what we believe that it can actually address many of these trends and issues that IT faces? Definitely there's a lot of great ideas and great attributes of a SaaS solution that definitely offers. I think first and foremost, I think in minds of many IT and SO end users, it's really about having the always up-to-date capabilities, having that latest productivity experience, and having that really anywhere, right? Having a cloud-based solution affords them the ability to access those data and capabilities wherever they are, whether they're on the go, whether they're in the office, at home, on mobile devices. All those ability to be able to access the capability wherever they are will become a super important and really attractive value prop. On the other hand, I think we need to balance making sure that to do that, we can do it in a way in which we do not provide disruption to the end users. So I was saying before, in a kind of a dual on-premises, online mode, customers, end users should not need to know about that, right? In many ways, they don't need to know whether their service is being hosted in the customer's data center or they're hosted in the cloud. To them, it doesn't matter or shouldn't matter. So those are kind of important things we need to make sure that happens, along with some of the basic, what we call table stakes, which should include having a robust, reliable service. And then at the end, having some sense of control. I think this is one of the biggest concerns that we have heard over and over again, and as well as a barrier to adopting SaaS from a customer base is how much control would they really have in terms of deciding what their users get, when the changes happens, and how would they be able to set the policies, even though they're not at all responsible anymore for the day-to-day operation of the service, but they're more or less accountable for having a capable and valuable service to the end users. And so I think it's important that any kind of SaaS solutions fulfill that promise as well. And finally, I think one thing above all, I think while many of these attributes I said before is important, what really drives most of the conversation that we've heard over and over again is the impact of the bottom line. Right? There's two sides to this. One, there's the soft gains of productivity, which is harder to quantify, but then there's definitely some of the hard cost savings to customer experiences. And I think moving to cloud oftentimes involves that, and having the right business case often be able to kind of make that, and that's sort of separate between those who consider it and those actually be able to implement it within their organization. So as I was saying before the outset, we've been in this business for 5+ years now, and we have learned a lot in those 5+ years with customers that are as large as 100,000 seat pharmaceutical, highly regulated company that are multinational base, all the way to a 5-seat small business in any one geography. So we have learned a lot in those 5 years experience, and what I'd like to share in the next few slides is some of the key types of customers that I like to say that has what we would call a compelling event that really drove them to move into a SaaS solutions. There is no shortage of interest out there from customers, from end users about what SaaS can bring. But I think what separates the customers that actually go ahead and do this as becoming these early adopting customers versus those who are willing to sit back a little bit and wait is really about what those compelling events that drives them to do that. So the two examples I'll share today definitely are not indicative of all the examples, but I think we'll give you a sense of what are those kind of reasons why customers have decided to pursue this path. So the first one I'd like to share is Godiva chocolate. I think this is a very widely understood, known consumer brand. And one of the reasons I picked this particular customer is really representative of some of the reasons and motivation why someone would want to move to SaaS. So like any other competitor in this marketplace, we are fortunate enough to be able to win some business from our competitors, moving from a non-Microsoft platform with the desire of this customer, in this case, to move from Notes to a Exchange environment. And when many of these customers face this, they really don't have the know-how in the organization. So for them to build up that capabilities, hire the right folks, understand the new architecture, and again, those new resources familiar with the existing infrastructure oftentimes takes a long time, and really does it really make sense for them to have that investment given now the new option of SaaS. So for many of these customers, and a lot of them in our customer base today, actually did come from a non-Microsoft environment. And so in this particular case, they're moving from Notes, and what they will do is really quickly be able to bypass the need to hire this new set of expertise and instead really focus on how they transition in terms of setting the right policy, clean up their environment, and moving to this new environment. While we do a lot of, as a service provider, provide a lot of the detailed work about hosting the servers, figuring out how to load balance, architecture, those things that they wouldn't have to think about anymore. So in this case, they were able to quickly get up to speed with getting the offering out, at the same time also saving a lot of money in terms of not needing to invest in those different types of investments that are typically high capital investments, and kind of move into operational types of expenditures. And an example, I think, sort of illustrates a primary reasons why customers decide to become one of these early adopters. It's one about what the end user productivity value this brings. So there are various different industries that have adopted SaaS solutions. I think one of them, in particular, I would share is a lot of the industry that has a high percentage of mobile workers. So in this case, this is Lodgestone, which is a consulting organization, and what their needs have been is, as any organization, they want the consultant to spend most of their time out in the field working with their clients. And to do that, they need to have a way that easily for them to stay in touch with each other, sharing best practices, know-how, at the same time not having a lot of the access and control requires today, such as VPN, separate token requirements, anything to do when they're not directly in the office accessing via the corporate networks. So with a solution like ours, they were able to quickly get up to speed, get up to that capability to the end user, roll it out, and then given them that ability to do a variety of collaboration among themselves, with their clients, and then also with other third parties as well. So I would say those kind of another good reason why a lot of adopters has been thinking about on one end kind of cost saving it does, but also about thinking about a compelling event for them to deploy, and then on the other hand, really think about what the end user impact it will have based on their kind of changing the needs of their end user base. So with that, those are definitely great examples of what the cloud has brought to some of our customers. But at the same time, I think we also learn about some of the lessons about what are a good customer and what they need to kind of think about before they kind of jump into this mix. And so what we do now, I think as a service provider, I think we feel very obligated to really share some of that with our customers. And this is a conversation what we have been calling a cloud principle conversation that we have had with many of our enterprise customers about what they should think about as they move to a SaaS solution. And so I want to share some of those, and I think while they are specific to us, but I think in general you will find that it's applicable to probably most of these large SaaS providers out there. So the first one is the idea about customization versus configuration. So having the benefit of a SaaS solution, which is in general a standardized architecture, you get obviously the economic value and savings that goes with that. But at the same time, it is not your specific environment. So in our service, we have done a number of things to make sure that it is highly configurable. So, for example, you can have, in the case of email, for example, we give the customer ability to decide the policy of their email configuration, who gets it, what they get, what kind of controls, limits that they will have. But at the same time, those are within the configuration that we have. Not in the same case as if you were to buy a box software to install and run yourself, you can really architect it exactly the way you want. So there is definitely a line between what's configurable versus what's customizable. And a customer needs to kind of make that trade-off. And then oftentimes there are trade-offs between the value and the promises and all that great attributes come with a SaaS solution with what they need to be given up in terms of having that control to do exactly what they want. And what we have found with many customers is a lot of things are nice to have, but when you kind of push back and think through what it is, a lot of those configurable features, a lot of times it's really good enough. The other aspects of it is really about the security policy. It's definitely not the case as much as when we first started, where oftentimes a customer are confused between what a SaaS provider is and what a traditional outsourcer would do. So we're definitely not in the business as a SaaS provider to give you kind of manage kind of quote-unquote your mess for less, right? We are not taking your architecture or your policy and just providing resourcing for it, right? This is definitely a kind of our solution that we have developed, and it really worked in our security policies. So we cannot be the extension of their IT in that sense. So as a result of that, what we try to do in our case is really being transparent about what our security policies are. We have shared a number of details about that. We plan to do more of that in the future. And also, we want to make sure that customers feel comfortable with it. This security is an important discussion topic that takes place. And I would say in the course of our sales cycle, this is one of the first topics that gets raised and one of the last topics that gets settled. It does take a lot of time, but really is part of the engagement. And I think on both sides needs to kind of put enough resources to ensure that happens. Another learning is about the need about audit rights. So we have often gotten requests about, hey, we want to have the ability to audit your service. And as you can imagine, when you scale to hundreds, thousands, millions of customers, it's very difficult to really enable that. And that's something that while customers are concerned, what we have done in our case is that we have really worked hard to get our service to be compliant with a number of different third-party audits, such as SaaS 70, such as EU Safe Harbor regulations. So we want to be able to prove to your internal audits that we are a service that while you cannot come in and check it out in that sense, in an auditable sense, but we are providing third-party audits and their reports back to you as a customer so that you can satisfy some of your compliance needs. So at the end of the day, as a SaaS provider, what we do is really enabling you to be compliant. And I think we try our best to really provide you the right data information to do that. And another area that we have learned about is data center locations. We as our service, is kind of on a regional data center plan where every customer is tied to a regional data center that has a backup and a primary. So in that sense, we have many, depending on where you are, where you're based, you'll be aligned to one of these data center regional locations. But we often have to request that, well, can it be a specific location, country, or areas within the country? And oftentimes that's not going to be possible in order for us to scale in the right way. And I think that's when I said earlier, what we call a hybrid solution makes a lot of sense. That is, in places where there's internal reasons why you need to have data in certain ways, there's always needs to have the option that you can run those users in those environments while being able to integrate and collaborate with those users in the cloud. So part of our value prop is giving the customers the ability to be able to have this hybrid deployment environment where areas and cases where you need to have data reside locally in specific locations versus those that be in a standardized locations that we provide, and having that seamless experience is very important. Another point that we talk a lot about is really a kind of a double-edged way in terms of about the way we update the service. This is an area that we need, as a service provider, try to create the right balance for. There's definitely a lot of benefits that goes with the fact that giving your end users the latest. But at the same time, there's often create disruptions in IT in terms of how they need to retrain their end users, having the right amount of notifications and preview to what's going on so that they can actually make the right choice. So in our case, what we have done is be really crisp with our customers about types of changes that we make. There's often types of changes that we cannot have a lot of notice for, such as those security changes that we discovered, or there is an attack that we need to respond quickly. So to those, we try to give as much notice as possible, but oftentimes it's really not possible. And then there are some of those that are capabilities that we offer. And the way we think about it is we offer those capabilities less as a mandatory capabilities when more of a optional capabilities. So, for example, when we started our service way back, we only provide each customer with a very small 1 gigabyte mailbox. And slowly, because of the market changes, of the market dynamics, we moved quickly to 5 gig, and now we're actually up to 25 gig. So over the course of that, we didn't mandatory just automatically give all their end users overnight 25 gig, because it actually violates a lot of our customers' internal policies of how much storage of emails they want their end users to have. So what we have done is actually provide them the ability to have a policy where they can decide, maintain how much, while it's optional for them up to 25 gig, they still retain the control about what to give on a per user basis. So those are kind of ways in which we have tried to provide optional capabilities in a non-disruptive way while still giving IT a sense of control about what the end user gets and when. And in cases where the change is disruptive, one of the things we are doing, for example, for our customer user base, as we're moving to kind of a next generation of offering that we'll show in a minute of Office 365, what we've done is we're giving all those customers a 12-month period to stay on the current service. So we give them a 12-month period and we actually have been giving them preview much longer before that, but they have a 12-month period where they can decide when they want to transition. And it's a great cost to us, but I think this is some of the kind of the balance that we try to strike between providing them the latest up-to-date capabilities while having some way of managing costs, while at the same time enabling our enterprise customer to have some control over their offering. The sixth topic that we often get asked a lot that we talked about is really about the deployment lifecycle. So while moving to cloud is definitely enables you to stay up to date and be able to kind of keep up with the changes, nonetheless, the reality of which is there is oftentimes a deployment effort to move to the cloud. And it's not sometimes at all that different than some customers need to go through internally they have done in the past when they move from one version of software to another. So the first movement often requires some cleanup on their part, some migration of data on their part, and those are real costs. And customers need to keep in mind of that. And a lot of times they did not ever figure it out into their business plan. And so this is one thing that we do remind customers of that. But what they should reap the benefit is some of the subsequent transition, some of the costs should be greatly reduced. While they still have work on their end in terms of if they are accessing from desktop and they need to ensure that desktop stay up to date, a lot of the server side sort of changes is done by a service provider like us. And so they will definitely get benefit from that, but does not at all remove them from any kind of cost in terms of first migrating, also subsequently ensuring that current environments stay up to date so that they can access these services. So with that, I'd like to invite Ryan McGee, who's a senior product manager in our team, to kind of demonstrate how we think how a provider like ours and a service like ours called Office 365 can actually enable and satisfy some of those trends and challenges I spoke of earlier in terms of driving end-user value and helping them work better. And just to give you kind of a high-level view of what is Office 365, it really includes four main components. It includes what traditionally will be known as the Office Suite, that is a set of desktop applications such as Word and PowerPoint and Excel that runs on your desktop and is part of a subscription offering that we offer, in addition to the web accessible, what we call web apps, versions of PowerPoint and Word, Excel, and OneNote. And then it has also the email component that's offered via our Exchange Online, email, calendar, contacts. And then SharePoint Online, we give you the collaboration capabilities such as sites, team sites, and workflow. And then finally, Link, which is a new brand that we have recently introduced that provides the ability to do collaboration such as instant messaging, sharing of desktops, sharing PowerPoint, having a kind of virtual ad hoc communication environment with voice as well as visuals. So with that, I will turn it over to Ryan. He's going to go through, walk through some of those scenarios and then show how he can really drastically improve the end-user collaborative experience. Ryan?
Great. Thank you, David, and thank you all for the opportunity to tell you a little bit about how Office 365 and SaaS in general can make people more productive today. I'm just going to share my desktop, and we will start looking at that. So what you're seeing here is the Office 365 homepage, except I've accidentally clicked on my Facebook component of my Bing bar. Let's get rid of that. Make things a little bit more visible for you. Now you're seeing the Office 365 homepage, and this is a jumping off point to all of the things that David just described. So I have access to my inbox with the Outlook web app here, my calendar. I have access to the link functionality for instant messaging and online meetings and ad hoc online communications. And I have a link here to my team site set up for me with SharePoint Online as part of Office 365. This is a place where the end user in a corporation could go and get access to all this functionality from a SaaS point of view, but we really don't expect that this is the way that somebody starts their day. They won't walk in and log into this web page. Rather, what they'll do with Office 365 is just come into Outlook and use the tools that they're familiar with today. And so one of the important things about SaaS for us at Microsoft is that it makes the tools that you're already using even better, and it can bring new powers into the applications that you have installed on your desktop. So let's look at a couple of examples of that here in Outlook. We have here just an everyday message inside Outlook 2010, and it looks like Tomas is sharing with me a new version of the flyer. In this fictional example here, I'm Karen Berg, and I'm part of this company, Fabricam, that makes furniture. And so this bedroom set has a flyer, and Tomas, rather than sending it to me as an email attachment, has saved it to our team site and just sent me a link. So now we don't have to worry about big files flying through in email, different versions getting out of sync with each other, or people getting their inboxes overflowed or having trouble sending emails because the attachments are too large. All of that stuff goes away with the power of SaaS, and we can just be more productive. And because SharePoint Online is virtually anywhere access, I can get access to this link whether I'm on my corporate network or at home or at my in-laws' house on vacation or at the hotel business center, wherever I might be. I can just click on this link and we can collaborate on this document. So that's one way that SaaS can make Outlook, as a specific example, a more productive tool for users. The second thing you'll notice here is that I have this little green blob here next to Tomas's name, and that tells me that Tomas is available and online right now. When I hover over, I get what we call the contact card, and I can expand this to get some more information about where Tomas is and what his contact phone numbers are, or, as David mentioned, we can just have an ad hoc conversation right now. You'll notice it's telling me I can click this button to send an instant message to Tomas, and we can just start a conversation right there very naturally and have a quick chat about something. And from there, we could escalate into video and sharing and all of those wonderful things. That can also take the form of a meeting. And so sometimes you have an email thread like this one, which has gone on for quite some time, a lot of people asking questions but nobody answering. And you might just want to resolve this issue quickly by setting up a meeting. You can do that in Outlook here, create a meeting with that set of participants on it, and you have all of the people who were on the thread already included. And again, we have Tomas's contact card showing up here. We would get the same for Daria and Dan. Of course, Daria is not online. Dan isn't online either right now. And I can quickly add an online meeting with the power of SaaS so that this becomes now a meeting that we can have virtually. If we're not all in the same office, we don't have to be sitting near each other to meet about this. And I didn't have to go look up conferencing provider details or insert a PIN code or anything like that. I just click that button, and because Office 365 is in the background and knows who I am and what company I'm connected to and what my conferencing details are, it can just pump all of that information right here into my meeting request. And so when I send that off, let's make sure it's going to pop up immediately. The time is 11 a.m. Let's set that for 10:30 just so that we get the reminder right away. So now that reminder pops up, and everybody who has, well, I need to dismiss the previous reminder. Here we go. Everybody who gets that email message, that meeting request, is going to get this button as part of Office 365, again, making Office applications like Outlook more powerful and more productive. Rather than having to open the item or go search for it in my calendar or my inbox, I just click one button, and I'm into the meeting online. Because we're already in another audio meeting here with WebEx, I'm not going to join the audio for this one. But you notice there I had the option to join the integrated audio and video that comes with the online meeting in Link. And so while we're in this meeting and other people are joining, I could be sharing my desktop, similar to what we're doing right now over WebEx. I could be showing everybody my desktop. I can share just a single program here. We can upload slides into the meeting if we want to review a PowerPoint presentation. We can have a whiteboard session. We can start a new poll, all of these sorts of things. And in fact, if I find that I've forgotten to add somebody into the meeting, I can just drag them in from over here. And now I'm going to be requesting Tomas's presence specifically in this meeting, and he'll be pulled in. So we can do that with anybody from the Link panel over here. You notice Tomas's availability just automatically changed from green to red because he's joined the meeting now, and Link knows that he's in a meeting, and so he's going to show as busy to everybody else. So meanwhile, I could be adding video, and we can have a video chat here over this Link meeting online. And Tomas looks like is uploading some slides, so we could be looking at some slides. And I can show the thumbnails of those slides. And as Tomas is flipping through and now we have Tomas adding video as well. As Tomas looks through these slides and is presenting to maybe the rest of hey Tomas, is presenting to the rest of the attendees at the meeting, I might have sort of a attention deficit disorder problem, and I might want to skip ahead and see what's going on later in the slides. Now, my background has made this subtle shift to yellow, and I'm being warned up here that I'm viewing privately. And so this is letting me know that I'm not seeing what everybody else in the meeting is seeing. But I have this nice ability now to find out if the question that I want to ask is going to be answered later. If so, I can probably just hold my tongue and wait until we get there. But if not, I might want to just take over as presenter, and I can quickly bring everybody else in the meeting up to the slide that I want to review with them. So we have this very nice way to have a very flowing and natural sort of conversation. It's more of a collaborative environment and less of a one-to-many presentation. And, of course, we can set it up the other way as well. If I wanted to make sure that everybody else was only looking at the slides that the speaker was reviewing, we could set it up so that the attendees were more in listen-only mode. But this is a nice little collaborative, as David mentioned, ad hoc sort of a way that SaaS, in this case, Link, is making these users more productive, whether they're together in a single office or many time zones away from each other, or one of them is in the airport and the others are all back at the office, we can have this meeting online with video, with voice, with this collaborative capability to review a set of slides or have a whiteboard session, all right here inside of Lync as part of Office 365. So let me get out of that meeting, and let's come back to the next thing that these folks might want to work on, and that is the Word document that we have here. So again, focusing just on how SaaS makes these applications a little bit more usable and useful. We want to take a look at Word here. I'll just show you back in the File menu here that we're actually not working on a document that's stored locally here. When I click on Open File Location, it's going to bring up my team site. And so this is actually a document that we're sharing on our team site here with all the members of the team. This is part of Office 365, and as I mentioned earlier, we can use this as a place to share documents so that we're not sending attachments via email, but we can also use it so that everybody has access to a single copy of the document. We don't get version conflicts going on with different versions floating around. It's relatively simple for somebody who's empowered in this environment to create a new site. We could do that, and so when somebody does that, they have a pretty simple, quick experience here and a bunch of different templates to get started from. These are all pretty customizable as well. They can make them look and feel a bunch of different ways, but just so that they don't have a blank slate staring back at them, we have a number of templates available there. The other important thing to know about the SharePoint document library is that we have this ability now to sync with SharePoint Workspace. And again, in the spirit of SaaS making users more productive, SharePoint Workspace lets me take an offline copy of all these documents with me whenever I disconnect from the internet. So if I'm not connected, I'm on an airplane or whatever, I don't have internet access, I can still make edits to the documents, and when I reconnect, my changes will be resynchronized back up to the rest of the document library here so that everybody else gets the benefit of my wisdom and changes. So let's just, and we've taken a little detour there to talk about SharePoint. The other thing I should probably do is make sure that my external contact has the ability to view these documents too. If I have maybe an external consultant who reviews documents for me to make sure that they look good before I present them to customers, I can do that here. Just add Kelly Kraut here, and I can send this to her Hotmail address, or if she had a Gmail account or any other type of email, she can get that at those accounts as well. And it's real simple for me to just send that sharing request out to her. And when she receives that, she's going to get a link that lets her come into this very same view of SharePoint and collaborate with us on those documents. And even if she doesn't have Word installed, she can view the documents here in, I have Chrome on the left and Firefox on the right. Safari would work as well. Internet Explorer works. But she has the ability with the Word web app, which is one of the Office 365 components, to view documents and make some edits in the browser as well. So somebody can be collaborating with me wherever they happen to be, even if they don't have the Word client installed. But what I'm going to do is actually come back to the Word client that's locally installed here and make some edits to this document, and just show you one more way that Word gets a little bit more useful and productive for me when I am connected to a SaaS solution like Office 365. So if I wanted to make some changes to this sale prices table, I could be in here about to make that change, and I see a bracket appear that tells me Tomas has just made a change to that line, and to avoid conflicts, Word is letting me know that. Now I can quickly escalate this into an ad hoc conversation with Tomas. We can send an instant message using that same contact card that you've seen appear a couple of different times now. Or I can call Tomas, or I can just click Save to bring down the latest changes from the server. And now it's going to show me that Tomas changed that number to 500. So we can both be collaborating on this document in real time, working on it at the same time. We don't have to sit there and wait for each other to check in, check out, wait for someone to get done with changes before I can start, any of that nonsense. On a tight deadline, we can all just pile in and work on this document at once. And Word, powered by SaaS, Office 365, is going to be letting us do that without conflicting with each other. So we have that nice ability there. So now I'm going to close that Word document, and the last thing I want to show for you is what happens if I'm on the go, if I don't have a PC in front of me. We've seen how I can be more productive with locally installed client applications, and we've seen how I can be more productive using the browser-based web apps from Office 365. Let's take a look at what happens when I am on my phone. So I'm just going to use this little video streaming application, and it's going to show you what's on my Windows Phone 7 device. Now imagine I get on a plane and go to this customer meeting. I step off the plane. The first thing I want to do, of course, is open my Outlook inbox to find out if anything new has happened while I was in the air. And it looks like I have a new meeting here, or an updated meeting request from Tomas. So this is our customer meeting that I'm headed to right now, and it's got a new location to it. If I tap on that location, it's going to bring me up a Bing map of that exact address. And so now I have the ability to get directions from where I am right now to that Bing mapped address, so that I can tell the cab driver where to head and which way to head. I can also make sure that I respond to this meeting so that Tomas knows I got it and that I'll be there on time. And we can send that away. And so now you're seeing, this on a Windows Phone 7, but this is all functionality that I could do on an iPhone or a BlackBerry or an Android device or a Symbian device. All of those are supported. This is all just Exchange ActiveSync technology, but it gives me the ability to have the same view of my inbox and contacts and calendar as I got when I was on my PC or when I was looking at it in the browser. So the next thing I might want to do while I get in the cab and head to that meeting is open the Office Hub. So now you're seeing something that's a little unique to the Windows Phone environment. You don't get this same experience on iPhone and Android and other devices. I can have OneNote there. I can open new documents. I've got some recently viewed documents here. I also have my SharePoint site here. So that same SharePoint document library we looked at earlier is available to me here. I can scroll down to Shared Documents, open that up, and get access to those same slides we looked at in the link meeting earlier. And it's going to download the latest version from the SharePoint site, and now I can refresh my memory on what order are these slides in, and just get ready for my presentation. And I can be flicking through here, and I might notice, I have a typo, and I want to change something here. I can do that, make a local edit here on the phone. It's going to open up the PowerPoint file for me and let me make a change to, let's say, this top header here. What if I wanted to say qualities instead of quality? No problem. I can save that change. And when I come back out of the PowerPoint file, it's going to ask me if I want to save those up to the server. I say yes, and now everybody back at the office or working from other mobile devices or working from home, wherever they might be, they're going to get the information that I just added to this presentation. So we're all going to be more productive because we have this SaaS solution powering our collaboration. And the last thing I'll show you is that in this meeting that I end up in with my customer, when I get there, I might want to make some notes. So I'm going to open up my OneNote file. This one lives on the SharePoint site, so it's a shared file that all the team members use. And I have here the ability, of course, to type some things. I could put all kinds of nonsense words in here, or I could type real stuff. But oftentimes what you want to do with a device like this, with any mobile device, is take advantage of the local device capabilities. And this is a little bit different from a computer in some ways because it's good at capturing pictures and audio. So I might want to add a picture into this OneNote file with my phone. I can do that pretty simply. And we'll get very meta on you here, and I'll just take a picture of my laptop in front of me. But, of course, the more common scenario would be if I wanted to take a picture of my whiteboard in a meeting and capture some notes that happened while I was there in the meeting. So I accept that photo. It's going to be brought into the OneNote file here locally on my phone. And when I come back out of OneNote, I can synchronize to bring it up to the SharePoint team site so that the other folks back at the office or working from home or wherever they might be have the benefit of knowing what happened in my meeting with the customer. They can see the whiteboard session, and we'll just go and simulate that right now, coming out of my video stream from the phone and heading to our team site where we have that same OneNote file in the OneNote web app. And I've seen all that information come into that view of the OneNote file as well. So wherever I am, whether I'm on my PC looking at things through the browser or using my phone, I have access to all this information. We have the ability to to collaborate. So we all get more productive using this SaaS solution. So that's just kind of a quick tour of the capabilities of Office 365. You would expect me to say this because I'm the product manager for it, but I'll say it anyway. There's a lot more stuff there that we didn't look at, lots more capability, all of it really aimed at those two principles of keeping somebody in touch with their coworkers and productive from just about anywhere so that they can be more productive with PC, phone, or browser access to all of their documents and information. So I'll stop sharing there, and I think we'll come back to the regular meeting for a little bit of a Q&A session.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. So hopefully that you get a sense of how we think a SaaS solution like ours can really benefit workers in your organizations and increase their productivities, not just in their office, but anywhere and wherever they are. So with that, if you are interested in our solution, we have a public beta going on, which of Office 365. So you can learn more at www.office365.com. We have a 30 days evaluation beta that you can start. Eventually, we'll have that 30 days trial. Right now, it's just a beta period, so you can sign up for beta, and it will be all going until we have a general availability, and which at that time, we then switch to a 30 days trial. And you can start learning about what is appropriate for you. So with that, we still have about 10 minutes left. So I'd like to take any questions that people have that's on the call. So feel free to submit them on the tool. I don't have any questions showing right now, but if you have any, please do that, and I will answer. Any questions? I think we have some questions about requests to share the slides. I think we'll go through the event organizers. I think I'm totally open to sharing these slides, so we can definitely make them available. Give it a few more minutes to make sure anybody has any questions about what we talked about today. Okay, I have one question. So how do you compare this to Google Docs? So that was the question. Well, obviously, I think we believe we compare very favorably to how Google Doc works. I think there's a few things we should kind of think about when we talk about Office 365. I think one thing we try very hard to do is really think about whether the various types of users that actually needs our service. I think they have different levels of needs, different levels of sophistication that we have. So what we want to do is recreate those different experiences. So it's not a kind of a one-size-fits-all types of a model that we have. What we believe is there are variety, and the more sophisticated the organization is, the more differences they will have. And what we do that is, we believe there's multiple ways with customer access, and so that we definitely have the rich client, which is known as Office, which we believe have the de facto world-class productivity capabilities that we have. And many of those customer users will always want to use that. And then we also have a set of users where we believe what we have considered called kiosk workers in our new way of delivering our service that probably don't need all that capabilities. And we have created a separate plan, different price point, and where we allow those customers to have what we call a small mailbox, web access only, where they leverage some of the web apps capabilities alongside with email via the browsers, wherever they are. They may not even have their own desktop or PC provided by their own organization. So and all of those are all integrated, all from the rich client to the web access to all the back-end services that we have. So in that way, I think we feel like we are very unique in the industry, that we provide this rich set of capabilities from the most sophisticated users into a very streamlined, simplified experience for those who doesn't need those full productivity capabilities. And I think that's a very unique thing in the marketplace that we don't believe anyone else has at the current time. Any other questions? I'll give it a few more minutes. Okay. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know there's a next session coming up. I'll give you a chance to take a little break. So, again, thank you for the time you spent with us today. Hopefully you enjoyed the talk. We're able to share some of our key learnings. At the same time, you kind of get a sense and preview of what we're up to as we think about how SaaS improve your workers' productivity. Thanks.